We actually have Dogmatika ritual good stuff actually showing up. I've actually wanted to see a deck like this actually kind of get off the ground working. And then we have some other top new choices for the metagame. Alright, to the 30% of you that have not smashed the living crap out of that subscribe button, smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So, what in the world is this? Well, this is the Dogmatika Ritual deck, and when I first saw this, I was like, you know, a lot of people typically look at the new stuff and, you know, kind of want to build the big Zoa monster. Well, not this particular list. This kind of shows us that White Knight of Dogmatika and the White Relic of Dogmatika actually can work in some sort of standalone thing here. Now, both of these actually do serve their purpose. The potential to, you know, get extra deck resources, generate some advantage, and then just kind of force your opponent to not be able to know how to handle these two is definitely interesting. So we have 2 copies of Diviner of the Herald. We have triple copies of Ecclesia the Virtuous, 2 copies of Fleur de Lis. We have 1 copy of Maximus. We have triple copies of Fenrir. Then we have 1 White Knight of Dogmatika and White Relic of Dogmatika. And of course you got triple Book of Moon. 2 copies of the Dogmatika Calamity. We have 2 copies of the this is our ritual. We have triple copies of the Dogmatic Tricks, triple copies of Nidir Servant, triple copies of Pot of Prosperity. We have 2 copies of Preparation of Rites, 1 copy of Thrust with triple Ultimate Slayer, and then we have 2 Punishment and triple copies of Imperm. Then down here in the extra, we have 1 Shirag, 1 Almirage with 1 Lingaribo, 1 Zeus with 1 Omega, 2 copies of Herald, 1 Final Sigma, 2 copies of Titaniclad, 1 copy of Gundala, and we have 1 Garuda and triple Anitis here, wrapping up this list. Now keep in mind, this does not play like your standard Shadal package that a lot of people are very used to kind of seeing as like a carry-on to this deck, because, you know, being able to drop an app cologne, toggle in to make a window, it can be cute at times, but I like what I'm seeing here in terms of ideas. So good stuff. Next up here is Cyber's Gadget Sprite. This is actually kind of interesting. You know, with the loss of Sprite Elf, many people are trying to find different ways in order to keep this deck still going. And Pit Knight down here kind of looks like an interesting little way to do so. It's another link too that gives access to this deck. So, you know, Konami was definitely looking out for Sprite players, especially, you know, after the planned destruction of, you know, what they were expecting. So yeah, this is Cyber's Gadgets. Good stuff. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. We have triple copies of Cyber's Gadget. We have triple copies of Giant Space Rock, 2 copies of the Nimble Angler, with triple copies of the Nimble Beaver. We have triple copies of Sprite Blue, your 1 Carrot with triple Jet, and 1 copy of Red. So all very basic stuff here for the negates. Then we have the triple copies of Book of Eclipse because, you know, being able to set an entire Kashtira field is just a free win. We have triple copies of Signet Mining. We have 2 copies of Pot of Prosperity with the 1 Gamma Burst. We have 1 Smashers with triple Starter. And then we have triple Talents along with triple copies of Infinite Permanence and the 1 Double Cross. And down here in the extract, you have the 1 Underclock Taker, 1 Sprint with your 1 Pit Knight. And we have 1 Lingaribo for the Corruptor Lock, 1 Nightmare Phoenix with 1 Dagger. We have 1 Dahark with 1 Sky Cavalry, 1 Soul Sweeper with 1 Ninja Shadow, 1 Mannequin Cat, 2 Gigantic Sprite, your 1 Downard, and your 1 Zeus. And then, of course, we have triple Contact C, triple Enemy Controller. Yeah, we're actually full powering this. We have triple Dimensional Barrier, triple Evenly Matched, and triple copies of Trap Trick here, wrapping up the full power Sprite. Yeah, deck still can do stuff. Is it good at the end of the day? It leaves room to be desired, I think, is the best thing to say here. Next up is some case tournament results from Bortle. And I figured we'd go ahead and talk about a couple of these because it's very nice to see, you know, some of the ideas that players are kind of bringing to the table to kind of counteract, you know, big old scary Kashtira. You know, the fact that this deck puts up such a big fields, well, you can go ahead and answer that field with 1 very easily Book of Eclipse. Everything goes down, mission accomplished. You know, you no longer have to deal with, you know, these big threats that your opponent's going to try to set up. So, very good. So we have 1 copy of Ad Lydium, 1 copy of Albion, triple copies of Aluber with 2 copies of Tragedy. We have 2 copies of Edgem Chain with 2 Fallen of Albaz. Then we have 1 Ecclesia. Then we have 1 Mercurier. Then you got the triple Allure of Darkness, your triple copies of Book of Eclipse, your triple branded Fusion, because this card is still the nuts. We have 1 branded in red, your 1 branded Lost, your triple copies of Branded Opening, your 1 copy Called by the Grave, your 1 Foolish Burial, your triple copies of Patchwork, your 1 Gold Sarcophagus, 2 Polymerizations. God, Guardian Chimera is looking pretty good. You have triple copies of the Talents, and then you have 1 Banishment, and 1 Retribution. Then down the next deck, you got 1 Starving Venom, 1 Rin Broom, 1 Dragos Debiliate, 3 Mirror Jades, 1 Masquerade, 2 Lubellions, 1 Guardian Chimera, 1 Garuda, 1 Quadratus, and triple copies of Albion. Then you got triple Space Rock, triple Super Poly, triple Twin Twisters, triple Evenly Matched, and triple copies of Infinite Permanents here, wrapping up your Fallen of Albaz deck. Keep in mind that, Edgem package is pretty much going to be standard going forward. A lot of this main deck does not change. Like, even though you get more and more toys to kind of add into this, the centralized formula has pretty much remained the same for quite some time. So that's definitely something that I just want to say here overall, is things are going pretty straightforward here. Next up here, we have Kashtira. Yeah, we're main deck in the Space Rocks, and we're playing the Book of Eclipses. This build is very, very anti-meta oriented. It definitely is telling me that if you're going to play this, you're going to have to play a lot of defensive cards, like something like the Crossout Designator. You unfortunately, you do have to kind of protect your investment field, because if your field gets cratered off the face of the planet, Space Rock, get it? Haha, funny. You have to be able to play the game. So this is gonna act as your negate in order for you to kind of do that. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. We have triple copies of Fenrir. We have triple copies of Rise Heart with triple copies of Unicorn. We have triple copies of Space Rock, 1 copy of the Scareclaw, and 1 copy of the Tier Elements. Now we have triple copies of Book of Eclipse, triple copies of Crossout Designator with triple copies of Birth. We have the triple copies of Kashtira Theosis. We have triple copies of Pot of Prosperity with triple copies of Raceloth. Then we have 1 Terraforming, 2 Talents, 2 copies of Thrust, and then we have the triple Infinite Permanents and the 1 Big Bang. Then down here in the next deck, we have the 1 Almirage, 2 Lingaribos, 1 copy of Donner. We have 1 Flare Metal with 1 Diabolsis, 1 Big Eye. We have 1 Dracosac, 2 Shangri-Las, 2 Rise Hearts, your 1 Happiness, and 2 Zeus. And then we have triple copies of Corruptor Ibley, triple copies of the Big Ball, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 2 Anti-Scams, triple copies of Evenly Matched, and triple copies of Solemn Judgment here. Wrapping up this list. 44 cards is fine. Like I said, your emphasis is going to be on this card, though. That's why you're focusing more on these. And it's also kind of nice to see Impermanent Ash shift back into the format. We've been without these cards, or high impact volumes on these cards, for quite some time. So this is very much a nice little run back here for that. And then last here we have another Kashtira list. Now this one is a lot more anti-meta based. This one's focusing on having Lava Golems and Book of Eclipses here in order to, break those fields. The best thing I will say about this deck is this deck doesn't really care too much about its normal summon. Obviously, it will help in certain situations. I mean, you can have some of the most unpleasurable opening hands that you've ever seen playing this game with this deck, but it will somehow, come together. So we have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. We have triple copies of Dimension Shifter with triple copies of Fenrir. We have 2 copies of Rise Heart. So yeah, a lot of people are kind of shifting back and forth on that ratio. We have triple copies of Unicorn. We have triple copies of Lava Golem. Then we have 1 Scareclaw Kashtira and 1 Tier Elements Kashtira. Then we've got triple Book of Eclipse, 2 Birth with triple copies of Theosis, triple copies of Pot of Prosperity, triple copies of Raceloth. We have 1 Terraforming with 1 Talents, 1 Thrust, triple Imperm, and 1 Big Bang. Down in the next deck, you have the 1 Almirage, 2 Lingaribos, 1 Donner with 1 Soldier Chaos, 1 Diabolsis, 1 Big Eye, 1 Dracosac, your 2 Shangri-La, your 2 copies of Rise Heart, 2 Zeus, and 1 copy of Dark Arm Dragon. And then you got triple Corruptor, your triple Space Rock, your triple Dimensional Barrier, your triple Evenly Matched, and your triple copies of Solemn Judgment. Wrapping up, well, your chunk of info for today. So what do you guys think about everything? Lots of interesting things shifting through here, but I will say it's very interesting. So please, leave a comment down below what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.